The following lesson is linked to Learning Outcome 2, Reading and Viewing. It addresses the assessment standard that requires learners to demonstrate various reading and viewing strategies for comprehension and appreciation. Learners should be able to scan texts for supporting details, read or view according to purpose and task, and reread, review, and revise to promote understanding.
Hi there. In this lesson, we will practice discussing theme. We'll look at an extract from King Lear and then examine the language to see what themes are developed. In order for you to place the extract that we are going to look at in context, let me tell you the story so far. At the beginning of the play, Lear exiles his youngest daughter and divides his kingdom between his two elder daughters. He plans to stay with each in turn, taking with him a retinue of 100 knights. He starts by staying with his eldest daughter, Goneril, but conflict develops between them, and in a fury because Goneril has suggested reducing the number of his knights to 50, Lear leaves to stay with the second daughter, Regan. Regan is not at all happy to see her father and asks him to return to Goneril's house. Here is Lear's response.
Return to her, and 50 men dismissed. No, rather I abjure all roofs and choose to wage against the enmity of the air, to be a comrade with the wolf and owl, necessity's sharp pinch. Return to her?
What is Lear on about here? He's being a bit dramatic. He says he would rather live under no roof and take his chances living in the open with wild animals like wolves and owls, than return to the daughter who doesn't want his knights. What themes can we find here? Let's start by looking at words that are repeated or related. Lear keeps repeating, return to her, return with her. Who is this her? It is his daughter, Goneril. How is he feeling about returning to her? Clearly, he is outraged and furious. He will not go back to Goneril because she has refused to allow him his 100 knights. Are there any other references to daughter? Well, to see, we will have to look at the next bit of the extract.
Why, the hot-blooded France that dowerless took our youngest born. I could as well be brought to knee his throne and squire like pension beg to keep base life afoot. Return to her? Persuade me rather to be slave and sumpter to this detested groom.
He does mention another daughter. There is our youngest born. His youngest daughter, Cordelia. What is Lear's motive in mentioning her and the fact that she has left his kingdom to marry the King of France? It could be that he is trying to make Goneril feel guilty for not wanting to let him stay, after another of his daughters has already abandoned him. He gets even more dramatic here, where he says that rather than being persuaded to go and stay with Goneril, he would prefer to be a slave to her servant. Rather to be a slave and sumpter to this detested groom. Obviously, he doesn't really mean this. He is just trying to place additional emphasis on the relationship between father and daughter. There might be a theme in this. What do you think? What is King Lear's relationship like with his daughters? To answer this question, let's hear what Lear's next words are.
I prithee, daughter, do not make me mad. I will not trouble thee, my child. Farewell. We'll no more meet, no more see one another. But yet thou art my flesh, my blood, my daughter.
In this extract, Lear addresses Goneril as daughter and my child. Look here. Daughter and my child. He reminds them both that she is my flesh, my blood, my daughter. My flesh, my blood, my daughter. This makes it seem as if he has a close relationship with his daughter Goneril. But then he continues.
Or rather, a disease that's in my flesh that I must needs call mine. Thou art a boil, a plague sore, or embossed carbuncle in my corrupted blood.
So here, the idea of your daughter being your flesh and blood is twisted. Suddenly, Goneril is like a diseased piece of flesh, part of him, but a source of pain, discomfort, and embarrassment. The extract then continues. Listen closely. He appears to have resigned himself to what he is saying, but is this really the case, or is he just trying to make Goneril feel guilty?
I will not chide thee. Let shame come when it will. I do not call it. I do not bid the thunder-bearer shoot, or tell tales of thee to high-judging Jove. Mend when thou canst. Be better at thy leisure. I can be patient. I can stay with Regan, I and my 100 knights.
He tells her that he won't chide or scold her, but that's exactly what he does. What do we notice about the expectations of Lear here as regards his daughter? He's so upset because he feels his daughter has not treated him with the respect and honor which is his due. So we can add that to our theme. A daughter owes respect and honor to a father. This discourteous treatment of a father is unacceptable. But what of the father? How is he behaving here? Lear acknowledges Goneril as his flesh and blood, but then he becomes infuriated and he abuses her. He says that she is a disease, a boil, a plague, a carbuncle. He curses her. She is like a red swelling on a person's skin that shows the person is diseased. She's a sign of his own sickness. This is a terrible way to speak to one's own child. We are reminded also of the daughter who was exiled, another terrible act against a child. Lear believes Goneril ought to feel ashamed. Let's have another look at Lear's speech. He refers to shame. And he hopes that she will mend or improve her behavior. He clearly feels in the right that she has misused him and that she should repent of her behavior and actions. Thus we can see that Shakespeare examines the relationship between parent and child. He asks us to consider, what does the parent owe the child and the child the parent? How are we meant to treat our parents and our children? What happens when parents and children fail in their duty to one another? The answers to these questions all form a major theme of King Lear. But that is not all that this speech shows us. Let us look at Lear's feelings during this speech. He is passionately angry that Goneril has mistreated him. He is resentful and indignant that she wants to reduce his knights. He is disillusioned with her behavior. His rage overwhelms him as his disgust with her increases. Finally, he asks her not to make him mad. What comment would you make about these feelings and about Lear's self-control? He obviously does try to control himself, as is shown in these lines. I prithee, daughter, do not make me mad. And here, but I'll not chide thee. However, elsewhere in this speech, he really loses control. He keeps repeating, return with her, as he becomes more and more worked up. and all the hateful things he says would be better than going back to Goneril. He says he would rather live a poor beggar's life in the open air, or ask the King of France for help, or become Oswald's servant. In other words, the servant of Goneril's servant. His rage is so fierce that he has to give 3 examples. Then look at how he threatens his daughter. He could, if he wanted to, tell Jove, the chief of the pagan gods, about her behavior, with the implication that Jove would send a thunderbolt against Goneril. What theme emerges from these passionate outbursts? Lear cannot control his emotions. He has every right to feel affronted and furious at how his daughter has treated him, but that does not excuse his own lack of control. There is also an ominous warning in the word mad. Mad can mean angry, furious, beside oneself with anger, but mad can also mean insane. If we are alert, we shall pick up the ominous implication. Such lack of control may lead to madness, to the overthrow of Lear's mind. You should now feel much more confident when you are asked to discuss the theme or themes of a Shakespearean play. For your task, discuss in class the duties of parents towards children and of children towards parents. What does the parent owe the child and the child the parent? How are we meant to treat our parents and our children? What happens when parents and children fail in their duty to one another? We have come to the end of our series on the elements of drama. Join me next time when we will examine Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Until then, goodbye.